Afternoon. Ready?
Hello.
Alas, Townley and Scout and number whatever. We're going to talk about Otago, FaME and Dance.
Sounds good.
And we're going to try and do it in 10 minutes.
Okay.
5 headlines. Ready? I'm going to kick off with: not all exercise programs or exercise instructors are the same. Agreed?
Totally.
Not all dance practitioners are the same.
Agreed.
And it's not the program. It's not the program per se in isolation that really achieves the gains, is it? It's what we do and it's how we do it.
Oh, yes. You can easily deliver FaME badly and not get the outcomes. You can easily deliver Otago badly and not get the outcomes. And in the same way, if you deliver a dance program, it won't necessarily be delivered in the same way by the same instructors all the time.
So these are fidelity challenges, aren't they, across every program, regardless of who's delivering it. But there are some specifics that we know about the evidence for structured exercise and fitness programs versus compared to dance programs. And this is really significant in context of falls prevention specifically, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I mean, I'll give an example. In the big Cochrane review by Sherrington, there are a couple of dance programs in there now, and some show benefit and some don't. And so their answer in their recommendation is that at the moment there is no evidence that dance per se reduces falls.
Accurate message, correct message, full stop. Okay. But there's more to pick through here, and it's quite understandable that if we know that being on our feet is for sure is going to have a positive impact on our balance. So let's just move on to another point here. Structured exercise and fitness programs target specific components of fitness, and specificity is implicit, isn't it? It's exactly what exercise training programs do. So this, I suppose, is the first thing to compare and go, well, do dance interventions specifically target components of fitness for that being the primary outcome? Help us understand that.
Well, again, I'm going to go back to the Cochrane review. Just in the same way that some dance programs seem to work and some don't, the same happens with exercise programs in that same review. We know that there are lots of programs in the Cochrane review which aim to improve strength and balance, and which do. So if you measure strength and balance, they improve, but they don't reduce falls. Say
that again. They
can improve strength and balance, but not reduce.
They don't reduce. So you cannot say
automatically go together.
Okay.
Strength and balance are proxy markers for falls. So yes, if you've got poor strength and balance, you may well fall more. But there are many other reasons for falls. And I'm going to give you just one example. Somebody can't turn quickly because their vestibular system's a bit strange. Somebody can't take a backward step very easily. Someone can't take a fast step very easily. So it's more than just strength and balance per se. It's also what you do with that strength and balance. So the Cochrane review has also done sub-analysis. Needs to be functional strength, and it needs to be challenging balance. In other words, not holding on, not sitting down, feeling very wobbly. It needs to have a progressive strength training approach. In other words, you build on the amount of strength work you do and the resistance you do it against over time. That's one of the problems with dance, is that you don't tend to get that progressive strength training. You might well get some functional strength work. You might have some moves which mean you've got legs bent, a bit like a squat, but you're working on lower limb strength. And of course, dance potentially has a lot of benefit to balance. But again, doesn't necessarily mean that that particular dance program is going to reduce falls.
And given the music, given the groups, given transition management, given this isn't about components of fitness.
Yeah, it mustn't be your frail or older adult, because if they can't do three-dimensional fastish movement like you can in dance, then you're not going to get the balance improvements. Soon as something is seated or holding on, you're not going to work balance in any way as well as you can when you're not. So again, we always get this sometimes in general classes where you'll have a mix of people, some people that are holding on, some that aren't, some that even may be seated. And that's often in a rolling program. We've got new people coming in, for example. You have to challenge each and every one of those individually to help them feel more wobbly. And that's why, again, it works in a structured exercise class program, because you can observe, you can go in, you can work on an individual, you can get them to do a little bit more work in a certain way. But in a dance group, can you do the same thing, particularly if you're all doing the similar dance movements at the same time? Perhaps not so easy.
And I just want to simplify that, if I can. The primary aim of structured exercise and fitness programs is to train components of fitness.
Yeah.
And perhaps this is a point of conversation, just to put up there. Is the primary aim of a dance program to do that? Because I don't think it is, because we've got music, we've got expression, we've got emotion, we've got all those other things. And of course, we hear the fun word a lot. We know that it's important. Social inclusion is important, and group cohesion is important.
Yeah.
But
you can get all of those in a structured exercise program.
You can. So it's not helpful. No, but we hear opinions of structured exercise programs being, for example, as dull as dishwater, which comes back to our first point. Not all instructors are the same, and it's we, the instructors, that bring this stuff. That brings
it is, and the group cohesion is also improved if you have an instructor with some empathy and a bit of fun and a bit of joy in the way they deliver the information. But the exercise itself has to be a bit of hard work, or you don't get training gains. So no gentle doesn't work. If you want,
it's not enough just to have fun, is it? It's not enough just to have fun.
Not for falls prevention. Of course, in many other ways, those sorts of programs, or any form of program which is different and is there for about social inclusion, enjoying fun with your friends, maybe expressing yourself, absolutely no problem at all. But then don't call them falls prevention, because falls prevention needs a training gain. It needs a physiological training gain, whether that be to your vestibular system, your muscle strength in the lower limb, your ankles, whether it be balance. And we all know that those things do not improve unless you practice, and you progress over time.
Last point, and perhaps the biggest headline that we need to talk about and keep talking about, keep reinforcing. This is an RCT. Other fruits are available. This is a service evaluation. Not comparable, no?
Not in the slightest. So let me just, in a nutshell, tell you what an RCT does. An RCT, a randomized controlled trial, is an unbiased way of looking at effectiveness on a particular intervention. So you will have a control group and an intervention group. They are randomly people are randomly put into those groups, so you don't get biased. You don't pick all the people that you're going to think they're improving and put them in the exercise group. You randomly put them into either of those. You then follow both groups over a period of time, and irrespective of whether they complete the whole thing, so do they attend every class or not, all the data goes into a pot. So when you get something that's effective in a randomized controlled trial, it takes into account everybody that was in the exercise group versus everybody in the control group. As I said, irrespective of the adherence to the program. So FaME is effective. It reduces falls. We know that in actually 3 big randomized controlled trials now. Okay. Evaluations. There are lots of lovely service evaluations.
And we need them. They're critical, aren't they? We absolutely need them.
We need that to start with. What you do later in terms of implementing is something different, but we need to know it works first in an RCT.
Yeah.
Service evaluations, we've got loads of great ones on FaME. And yes, they always do look like they've done better than the original RCT. Of course they do, because they just follow the completers, the people that stick with the program.
Yeah.
They pick people out that are going to work with it. In other words, those people who are less interested won't even come for the first one, so their data won't be included. So it's really a very rosy view
cherry picked
of a program. It's cherry picking. And the same thing happens with dance programs. You do a service evaluation. It looks fabulous on the people that stayed with it. What we don't know is how many people started but didn't stay with it. How many people didn't improve and left early because they weren't seeing any change, or they might have had a fall. So any service evaluation always looks better than an RCT. But it's because of the way you do the data analysis. The other thing, and this is also really important, is that in a randomized controlled trial, all the people that start are considered. And I keep making that point because service evaluations often will start with, oh, we had X number of people, 250 people in our programs. And here's a little evaluation on 43 of them. What happened to the other 210? And this is the problem with service evaluations, and making claims on service evaluations that are incorrect makes a mockery of the whole system, really. We can all cherry pick our data and have a lovely effect at the end of it. But essentially, if you look at all the return on investment information that Public Health England give on FaME and Otago, it's based on those randomized controlled trials. In other words, it's based on everybody in the population going in that group and seeing the effect on falls irrespective of the number that finish. It's a bit like all the trials on aspirin and whether they work, whether that works. It's done on what's called an intention to treat. So you can't base a return on investment on a service evaluation, because that'll only be the ones that happen to stick with it. So how many hundreds more people do you have to put in a program to get the number that will stick with it? So there's a lot of problems at the moment in the press and in lots of other things about people comparing these. And as you say, it's like comparing apples and bananas.
To be clear, to be finished. There's a place for all things. There's a place for all movement. There's a place for dance. There's a place for dance, isn't it, as exit routes following on from these programs.
Once somebody has a good enough strength and balance and confidence and ability to turn and ability to transition and take a backward step and a side step, fabulous to move on.
And listen to music and move at the same time and listen to instructions. And
all of these things mean that we don't, which is another big failure of most full services in the UK. We do some good stuff with them here, bye, and they just decline the minute they stop. If we can move them into dance programs, for example, lots of other types of programs as well, where you maintain a challenge in some way to balance and a maintenance of some form of strength, you're not going to see the decline that often you see when somebody just stops a program.
Exit routes are important. Not all programs are the same. Not all yoga is the same. Not all Pilates is the same. Not all dance is the same. Not all structured exercises are the same. We need to be doing what we say we're going to be doing, evaluate what we're doing, and be informed by the research. Agreed? And therefore, we also need quality assurance or a form of check on fidelity. Otherwise, everything morphs into something that's not quite what it was meant to be. Here ended this chat. Only 4 minutes over. That's quite good for us. All right, I'm off. See you later. See you later.